How you doing, Zay? You're the first one today. What's up, Cal? How you doing? Good to see you. The business. How are you, man? You're awesome. I'm gonna invite you to always come up. It's always great to have you if you want. You're not obligated, but 21. Yeah, it's gonna be daily. Well, today and tomorrow, and then I'm on a retreat for 10 days. What's up, everybody? Lisa, Joey, Joe, Happy Type. How you doing in business? How you doing, man?
Doing well, doing well. Thanks for sending me
Yeah,
images.
you always add quite a bit, so I figured it's a good idea. Hello to everyone on YouTube. Okay.
What's that?
No, I'm just saying also hello to everybody on YouTube as well. So I know if you don't mind though, when you don't speak, if you can mute because there's some static, but you can chat, you can talk at any point, and you can even interrupt me. There's no problem, just so we don't have the static. How you doing, everybody? I see a lot of newcomers today. So to all the new people, this channel is mostly revolving around the simulation hypothesis. My name is Denny, and I'm claiming to have found proof that we live in a simulation. We meet here daily to discuss all kinds of fun and big topics like physics, philosophy, religion, spirituality, and so on. How are you, Tara? Dana, Francesca, Daisy. We have a lot of newcomers. That's awesome. How are you, everyone? So today, I don't even remember what did we talk about yesterday. Yesterday was a pretty short one. Oh, yesterday we talked about the mainstream of science and how it kind of approaches all the cutting edge science. It's almost like they're at odds with each other. And it is interesting to me that even people who are saying pretty outlandish shit, even if they, depending on their style of conversation, they might be treated a little bit differently. The text definitely looks more similar, like rather than like Allison, great characters. Wait, the business use. I'm sorry for the lag in my memory and all of that because it's hard for me to follow who's who as far as testing it. You tested it? It seems like from your comment that you have tested it, right? Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, definitely it looks more, to anybody who doesn't know, I'm proposing essentially an experiment. And that experiment can reveal straight up code running in surfaces just like you would imagine in the Matrix. All you have to do is project a diffracted laser on a surface and ingest a particular molecule that I cannot name on the live chat, and you will see code running in surfaces. That is the experiment. It has now been replicated over 1,000 times worldwide. I personally have seen over 100, between 100 and 200 people doing this before, but haven't used the laser yet. Oh, I see. Okay, cool. Yeah, so yesterday we spoke about how particular streams in science, which I guess we would call more mainstream science, the way that it handles more cutting edge things. And what I'm saying is that I've noticed that people that have a more, I guess, calm demeanor, they don't suffer the same consequences, it seems, from people that are more rambunctious and just putting their message in a much more aggressive way. And that is interesting to me because it kind of reveals that the way that these ideas are dealt with very often is not on the merit of the idea, but more on the merit of the carrier of the idea, which is kind of interesting to watch. For example, Thomas Campbell, right? My big toe. He is a respected scientist. What he's saying is, I mean, really out there in terms of what modern science accepts, right? Because he's incorporating consciousness into the model. He's incorporating things that on the surface of it seems like we won't be able to talk about them in scientific terms. But wait, are given the spiritual. Wait, hold on. Yes, the ones with more spiritual baggage tend to have more of a cleansing experience before they are given the spiritual download. Oh, interesting. So I don't know if that's what I meant, but that's an interesting comment. Do you mean in the psychedelic space, or do you mean in scientific circles, the business? Um. Oh, is Tim here? How are you, man? Seen the once I've seen use the molecule for the first time. I see. Yeah. Well, it does seem like it's going to smack you around. I guess what I was referring to more is the treatment by mainstream scientists. And yesterday I was talking about uh, Professor. I can't keep forgetting if it's Steve or Dave. I think it's Dave, right? Professor Dave, and the way he reacted to Terrence Howard, and then to the conversation that Eric had with Terrence Howard, and now he responded to Piers Morgan uh, having did he have Tom Bilyeu and Eric Weinstein. I just got shot. Should I use essential oils? 100%. Make sure that you rub it counterclockwise, though. Yeah, Professor. So I watched that one, and as expected, he was basically shitting on Eric like big time. Uh, Hold on, Kane is saying I was talking with my sister about our last conversation. You're gonna have to remind me what specifically we spoke about in our last conversation, Kane. Um, Kalma, Kalma Harris, Kalma, Kamala Harris. I don't comment on political stuff, man. It's not. I don't know why. It always seems to me like it's completely pointless to talk about it. So again, she was explaining how to have to sacrifice to manifest. Wait. Oh, sacrifice. Like sacrifice something. I see. When do you plan to go on either Joe Rogan's podcast or Higher Side Chats podcast? Um, I don't know. Joe was contacting me. I'm kind of busy right now. We'll see. I don't know, man. Whenever Joe sends me an invite, I'll be there. Obviously. um. Oh, you're good. I just, yeah, it just feels so pointless. Not in any like, I didn't mean that comment in like in any super negative sense. It's just like truly talking about politics seems so pointless to me. It seems like it's inconsequential. Truly, either one would bring more adoption to laser experiment. Well, obviously, yeah. I think that the second the movie is out, Joe we'll make sure that Joe sees the movie that way or another. And I think if Joe likes it, if the movie is well done, then we have a shot. Not a sacrifice like a ritual type, but in your life or ego. Yeah, there's a lot of start with Duncan. Yeah, man. Start with Duncan. I told you, Duncan is my dream. Duncan is my favorite by far. Duncan Trussell is woo. He would be a trip, man. I love Duncan. Joe's team tonight. Oh, you're reaching out to Joe's team? Awesome, man. Thanks. Tell Joe I'll send him a laser. Yeah, the funny thing is that you know how in life things seem to kind of revolve like concentric circles. And then when you have a goal, when you have a mission of some sort, especially if it's like a big thing, you usually have this trajectory towards it. It's like a spiral. You're spiraling in these concentric circles, and then if you do enough work and you keep swimming, it gets closer, and then gets closer, and gets closer. Uh, so I know a couple. Yeah, I know a couple of people actually that know knows Joe really well, right? And but with someone of the caliber like Joe, I mean, the first people who, we're talking Joe Rogan here, obviously, to anybody who doesn't understand. Uh, Somebody of that caliber, especially his closest friends, will never just kind of bring a thing up unless they're absolutely certain that it's something of value, right? And at the moment, I still didn't get to show these people the laser. I think that if one of them sees the laser, that will be a different story. But like I said, it's concentric circles, and I'm not pushing. I'm just doing my work, doing my best, focusing on what I can do to contribute. And I know for a fact that it will unfold exactly how it's supposed to unfold. So I'm not really worried about it. Oh yeah, and if you can tap the screen to get a little bit more likes, that would be awesome. Thank you, guys. And what's the topic for today? I'll be honest. Today I'm a little. I had a very long day of things kind of happening all at once, so I didn't really come up with a good topic. So I'm kind of borrowing something from yesterday, and then we'll see if we can come up with a good topic through that. Because I actually think there's a lot more to talk about in that sense. How mainstream science takes information and acts as both a gatekeeper for certain kind of ideas, and at the same time, also in fact being the engine by which we produce all the stuff that actually works. Wait, my ADD is like going crazy. I'm going to try and remember what I was talking about without losing it. It is in the big scheme of things. Oh, I see. Isn't he in SoCal? Duncan? Yeah. Duncan is here in SoCal. Again, I know already a lot of adjacent people. It's just a matter of it happening organically. I never want to reach out. You know what I mean? And it's not an ego thing. I just understand that it's not the right way. Like it's almost like the process is an organic pace to it, and I have to respect the organic pace of it. That's why. Yeah, starting with Dunkel would definitely be better. What's the topic this evening? Thank you for the. What part of the world are you residing? Oh, I'm in LA, also Southern California. Open topic, basically. That's a good excuse. I do want to pick up on some of the stuff from the mainstream science. I was talking about yesterday because I watched that episode of Professor Dave, which from now on might be Professor Steve every once in a while because for some reason my brain refuses to acknowledge the difference between these two names. Don't ask me why. And before it's exactly, yep. Don't pick up the fruit before it's ripe, and never want to force it. Exactly right. And like I said yesterday, he was kind of shitting all over Eric, and I'm kind of blown away by that. I mean, it's just so obnoxious, like it doesn't paint him in a good light. It's so weird that that's the choice. There's so much anger there. And I guess, I mean, look, he has a pretty big channel, right? So that's fine. But the fact that that's the way that he chooses to go through these narratives is really bizarre. And like I said, I would love to watch him talking to Eric. Did anybody here get to check out the Mick West and Eric Weinstein conversation? Because if not, that's a really good one. Because it's one of these, like I said, that there's like a change of mind all of a sudden. When I get back from the retreat, what I'm thinking about doing is, and obviously, because one of the biggest reasons for me to come and do this daily was to connect with people a little bit more and truly understand what is the value that I bring versus my perceived value. So, like, we all have an idea of what we think is valuable in what we do, but then that's obviously not always exactly what it is for other people. And putting out a video without really getting an input back, it's not as informative. So I figured I'm just gonna come daily and check in on people. First of all, it was very encouraging because I see a lot of people showing up daily, which is amazing. I'm honored. And but what I want to, maybe the next level where I want to take it, I want to keep doing it daily. It will also give me a good practice on how to hold a conversation somewhat interesting for a few hours every day. But I want to start bringing guests. And I also want to be able to create some kind of specific content for people that they really want. Like if there's particular subjects that people really want me to break it down, then I can take some deep dives into them. If there's particular guests that people think that might be good guests, I'll try and get them on. At this point, is I got lucky enough to have a pretty strong network, so I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be able to come up with some interesting people to come and talk to with us, depending on the interest in topics. So that would be my goal for right after I get back, and I'm sure I'm going to get some great ideas during the retreat. One of the most difficult things for me, at least, doing these retreats, is that you can't write down anything. Like you can't write down ideas, you can't write down anything, and that's the thing you want to do more than anything, because everything is so profound after a few days, and it's so like you feel like a genius. And then the first impulse is like, oh dude, I gotta write it down, and you can't. This could be the biggest discovery ever. And you're open to questions about it. Crazy high value. Oh, well, yeah, I appreciate it. I guess the way I'm thinking about it is more in terms of what is the value for people on a personal level. Um, because so ultimately in the large picture, people are, if you're implicated in something, then it obviously makes it more interesting. But macro scale, macro picture, obviously all of us are implicated. But the question is, does it actually add also value on a personal level on a day-to-day life? So, for example, people who are, giving you all kinds of life advice, that's obviously, it automatically translates to something that is of value immediately to you. And I'm not, I don't see myself as like a life coach or anything like that. So for me, I want to see how we can take that and then take my experience in certain domains and then maybe distill it to something that feels very valuable for people. And I don't know if it can be in ways of having conversation with people or just breaking topics down. We'll see. For me, so far it was a pretty good practice, just showing up on a daily basis. It also adds a lot to the discipline of it, which is not always easy to maintain. Hello, Andrea. And yeah, I mean, it's one of the craziest things for me, Cal. You said this could be the biggest discovery ever. I so I think there's I think what it is that a new door has opened to be able to interact with that space, and it happens in many ways. So the people who are interacting with it in their way and they're paying attention, there's going to be a lot of different ways by which this applies to the world, and we're going to start seeing it. It's going to come through technology. It's going to come through spiritual pursuits. It's going to come through shamanic endeavors, and really, you're going to see it arising culturally, and you're already seeing that. I think this entire uptake in the spiritual pursuit is something that is a part of it. I don't think it's a coincidence. Now you can say, look, these ideas are more available, so they're trending online, and more people are aware of them. Sure, but at the same time, it's part of the process that it's trying to unfold. And Kimi is saying, friendly reminder, you are loved, you are enough, and you matter. Have a great day. This is great. Thank you. Thank you, Kimi. See, this is what I mean. This is what I mean. This is amazing. Like social media, the perception of it is that it's just like craziness all the time, but also you have this beautiful thing. Thank you, Kimi. Keelan is saying, I see it all the time, everywhere now, everywhere since I broke through last. Thank you for sharing, Keelan. Was it a long time ago when you broke through last time? Also, I see you have a cowboy hat. It's very cool. Are you a cowboy? Oh, let me see. I did have one thing that I wanted to potentially also open for conversation. See if I can find it right now quickly. If not, Huh. Okay. I don't know what it is right now. I guess it's not that. Um. Oh, that's amazing. Also, it's so awesome. For the most part, people are good. We've just been so desensitized in being others. Yeah, I agree with that, Kane. You know, I really think that the majority of people are not really okay. So I'm going to say something that might sound even a little bit radical in in the context of what we experience online, right? When people say, and I can speak specifically about the U.S. because that's my home, and I've been here for the last 18 years, but I think it applies everywhere. So people say, what happened to the United States? Like what happened to our country, right? And by the way, I'm not. It's not even a matter of like what happened to the right or what happened to the left. Like what happened to the country, right? It feels like something is wrong or something like that. But my suspicion is that actually it's fine. Like it's fine. Like everybody are fine. It's just that there's a very small, very vocal slice of radical people online, and again, this is not left or right. I think it's across the board that gives the impression that everybody are so segregated and hate each other. Because when I go to the store, I don't feel that. When I see people on the street, I don't feel that. So either people are really hiding, or it's the other way around, and people allow a part of them to come into play online that doesn't actually operate in the real world for them. So I actually have pretty good feeling, and I have a lot of hope for the future. I think most people that just show up for work, and go about their lives and raise their kids, they're good people. I don't think we're in as much trouble as people would like to portray online. Let's see. I use a black light. I can see the same language writing as you described seeing with the laser. Interesting. Let me tell you something, Keelan. Before I came up with the idea for the laser, I used we used black light actually on paper, and then we put paper on it, and we thought we saw something. The problem was that the paper is basically made out of a mesh, right? Because it's pulp that then dries, very thin pulp, right? So it has a lot of little squiggles in it. So it's kind of hard to discern whether these squiggles is what gave rise to these things. With the laser, you can see it super concretely, but I've never tried since came up with the laser. I never tried with black light and just projecting it on the surface. I've tried it with different kinds of light. I tried it with the laser pointer. It didn't work with these things. So it had to be a diffracted laser to see the specificity that I'm describing. But you're saying that with black light, you could see literally language. Now let me ask you something about this language, because there's I always talk about this difference. There is this code that you can see without the laser that is bigger and it's more malleable. So like you can change it with your mind. You can ask it to be something else. But the code in the laser, you can't change it no matter what. It's very rigid, like it doesn't want to change. So do you feel that the code you see on under black light is like that, like you can't change it at all, or is it more malleable, kind of like what I was describing about the other code? I see it on my skin. Interesting. You use the green laser as well. Yeah, the green laser, like I said, can't change it. Interesting. So I should try black light again. Okay, thank you for that. It's larger though. Okay, it is larger. So I think it might be that one. So I gotta see it. I gotta see it. If you don't mind, Keelan, you don't have to, of course, but if you don't mind, that would be wonderful if you send me a short description of everything you see and to my email, lasersimulationx@gmail.com. Once again, lasersimulationx@gmail.com. I would really appreciate it if you don't mind. And also, I'll be able to send you an invite to the next Zoom. Thank you so much. And the business, I did use the green. The green has the language plus weird arrows that kind of go in circles. and the blue also has extra content. You see these beings basically on it. So it seems like every layer contains another key of the puzzle. So yeah, black light. I actually have another black light. It's interesting. Yeah, I feel like I can't know for sure, but I do feel like I'm on the verge of making another breakthrough. I'm doing a lot of reading of some stuff in physics, both kind of like cutting edge things, like new research that is coming out, but also I basically went back and like kind of going through the basics, some of the basics, all the way to some basic models of quantum physics, which is also fun because it's always nice to revisit basic things, and you always find something new when you dig back in the thing, and especially in the context of what I know now and understand. Sometimes I would like encounter, like, this is how I came up with the fact that the Zeeman effect might actually work. So like I knew of the Zeeman effect, but I completely forgot it existed. And it's such a obvious thing, I guess, because I already had the idea that I want to play with a magnet. But then when I was just kind of going through some of this basic stuff with the physics, and all of a sudden I read about the Zeeman effect, I was like, wait, right. I mean, you can use these really powerful magnets and get this effect. So why didn't I think of that? So things like that. So I do feel like I'm right on the cusp of making another discovery. I don't know if it's just wishful thinking, but it really feels that way. No, I've not used multiple. Well, I put two lasers, the business, different colors at the same time in the same spot, but it doesn't seem to be doing anything special. You just kind of see the content. How big have you projected the laser? Does it work from very far away so the laser spot is huge? So if you use a laser that is that powerful, you are risking actually damaging your cornea. um, Cryosquid. Cryosquid. It's a cool handle. You can't use anything above 5 milliwatts because otherwise you will damage your cornea. Even if it's not shining in your eye, even if it's just bouncing off a wall, eventually you'll start getting headaches, and then you might actually do damage to your cornea. That's the problem with this experiment. There is also, the protective glasses for lasers. So if you use the exact, so for example, if you use the goggles that are made exactly for 650 nanometers, that doesn't make any sense because it will just block that light and you can't see it. But if you use one that is a wider range, it protects your eyes from some of the light, and then you see the code even more, I think, even more concretely. I think it because it drowns some of the overstimulation of the light that is coming back to your eyes. People who can see it in sober may be in the biggest key. They can rule out it being caused by a molecule. Well, I don't know. No, I'm not so sure about that because you would have to explain. You would still be in the same problem of trying to explain what exactly is it in their brain that allows them to see that. So it actually adds another layer of complexity, another less complexity, because to say that it's caused by the molecule hints at us understanding fully what the molecule really does. It's like what is it opening? What kind of an ability? And we don't know that. So because of that, you both need to explain why people see it on the molecule first, and then on top of that, you have to explain why these unique people all of a sudden see it without the molecule. So I actually think it makes it more complex. Also, because these people are going to be much more rare, it's going to be difficult to find people and then vet them. And also, in both cases, the people that I know, they're extremely kind of like ethereal. Okay, so these are not the people that you would usually trust in a lab to tell you something, not because they're not trustworthy, just because usually scientists already assume that people like that, they have certain predispositions of thinking about the world, so they won't be speaking the same language. So I actually think it will, in the beginning at least, it will introduce more complexity than anything else. This is just done using the molecule or other substances as well. Yeah, business. You can use it with mushrooms, and you can do it with the sacred tea with Aya. But they're the same channel, so it's not surprising. Mushrooms are as well, but you need like 3.5 grams, so it's like a whole day thing for sure. Hello, not right, not right 4B. New here. What frequency are you using with the black light? Oh, I don't know. maybe that wasn't me that they gave that comment. So people see it sober, equal, may narrow the cause of ability to see it. I see your point though. Yeah, there's just I see what you're saying. It's just that there's so many variables there, potential variables, that you you first have to, because you have no theoretical framework of of consciousness, literally zero. It creates an infinite space of possibilities, and it's kind of difficult to think even where do you start triangulating it. I haven't tried it with Eric Doggin. How are you, by the way? Thank you for joining. Um, but what you mentioned, I haven't tried. Something tells me that it will work, but I can't know. If you ever try, please let me know. Yeah. The business. What Cal is referring to is that I met two women who claimed to see it without the molecule, but and I don't have a reason to doubt them. They're pretty trustworthy human beings. It's hard to know what they're seeing, right? Because I do see some of it sometimes when I'm really tired, but it's kind of faint. And when I asked both of these women, they didn't see it like we see it on the molecule. Like they didn't see it like see it. They kind of saw something, right? So it's not the same still. And when I'm really tired, I also see something kind of. So maybe it's because the brain is tired and doesn't really pin down reality so much anymore. But I'm also thinking that because I know what to look for at that point, because my brain is tired, it might actually be projecting it there. That's also possible. Yeah, they see the code, or they see something that I think they think is the code, or maybe they do see it. I don't have a way to know. This is one of these things where I kind of have to go by people's reactions. How are you, Kelly? On YouTube, feels like a timeline shift. Very intriguing. Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, it definitely feels that way. Um, are you being shunned by any parts of the scientific community? Shunned? I'm not a scientist to be shunned by the scientific community. I don't feel that, but also, uh, no. The short answer is I don't feel that, but also I'm not really. It's almost like the question doesn't make sense to me because I'm not one of them. So who am I to be shunned from the scientific community? You know what I mean? Yeah. No. I for the most part, when I speak to people, I get respect. I feel respect. I mean, obviously, the idea is out there, right? And unless somebody tried it, it's kind of hard to deliver the point. Even people who definitely know the space. But overall, people are super nice. The best kind of like absorption of this that I found was with John Dean, the guy who's the researcher who's now leading the study of this in San Diego. The nicest guy, the nicest guy. Also an incredible musician, and he's like super open minded. And he was like, okay, well, you can see they kind of absorbed it, and then who knows, he might be able to incorporate this in the experiments. Gallimore is interested in your work, correct? I spoke to him, I met with him, but and he knows about it. My impression when I spoke to him was that he was very slow to kind of see any reason for it to be actually special. But again, he hasn't tried it yet. I spoke about this quite at length. I don't know if I want to like dive fully deep into that conversation, but the general thrust behind it is that, as far as I know, he didn't try it yet. I know for a fact that he disagrees with some key assumptions there, but I do believe that is because he didn't try it. Like if he sees it, it's going to be a different story there. It definitely is different. So like I know I have enough experience in that space to know that it's not how anything looks in that space. There's nothing in that space that looks like that. It doesn't belong. It's like a different kind of thing. And maybe it's hard to believe that somebody can say this with confidence because the space literally allows for infinite possibilities. But yes and no. There's a certain gestalt to the molecule that unfolds in different ways, and we've done it so many times. I mean, I'm sitting on like thousands of times. I don't even know how many. Like at least between 3 and 5,000 times. And I think even speaking of times doesn't make a lot of sense at this point. So I understand like what the molecule has to offer, and it can still produce things that will be surprising to me, but the building material will still be the same, and I recognize it. It has a signature, it has a tone. The laser does not fit in any of the tones in the space. It's just like straightforward. It's just like regular content. And that's the surprising part, coupled with the fact that it's replicable to basically 100%. Like, it's true that it takes some people a little longer to see it sometimes, but when they see it, they can't unsee it, and they see all the same thing. That's unheard of. Okay. And this quality that I'm describing, it's not because it's a quality and not a quantity. It's very difficult to describe unless somebody had it before, and because he didn't have it before, it's kind of hard for me to again, I think that when he sees it, he's gonna be a lot more on board. I can't speak for him, obviously, and I don't know that, but uh, the same things that he said about particular other things in the molecule space. Like I mentioned this in the other talk, where he said that machine elves cannot be justified as hallucinations by anything that we understand about neuroscience. So if you're looking at it from the neuroscientific perspective, machine elves cannot be what we would call hallucinations because of different parameters, like how consistent they are, how many people see them, describe them in detail, all that stuff. So I asked him one time, does he think that the code is the same thing? And he said, no, the code is different. The code, we've seen language, this is very common. And again, I know what he's talking about. There's other things that is kind of like that I know what he's talking about, but it's not that. So yeah, I think it's just a matter of time before he will see it, and then there might be a different conversation. But in the meanwhile, I always recommend his work. He's one of the most brilliant people on the planet that is dealing with this stuff, 100%. Because Phil Gallimore retreats his creating should include your laser technology. Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, again, Gallimore knows a lot more scientifically than I do, right? So he's a smart guy. He has his decisions. He has his like uh, ideas and goals. But again, the conversation is open. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Do you think the code is there to sustain or operate objects it's embedded in? So I think the code is everything. It's not embedded in it. It's the thing that makes everything. That's my impression of it. Is there a visual you've seen that mimics or comes close to the code? The movie The Matrix. That is the closest depiction of it. Retreats in the resort. Yeah, I think this code could ever be deciphered. So good question, but I think that's going to be a while before we'll be able to do that. I think that what it will require is to be able to record directly from the cortex. If you can do that, then you can use some AI to help you kind of see if there's patterns. But at the moment, there's so much happening all at once, and it's moving so fast that I think the closest thing we can get at the moment is to observe any regularities as far as behavior and see if we can create some physical perturbation outside of it, and see if we can create the same change in the code in a way that everybody can agree on. That's the closest we can get at the moment, I think. And they recording images from dreams now? They have something that is in a very rudimentary stage of this. Yes, they do. Ever talk to the Wachowskis? Something tell me, well, okay, you know what? Here, I just caught myself doing this thing that I'm practicing not to do. So this is wonderful. I've something told me for a while after they went into the whole woke thing that I'm just not gonna get along with them. I don't, and I just caught myself kind of judging them, for being obviously not for anything like sex change, but just for the whole vibe of the woke. This is something that doesn't vibe with me usually. So let me think. I think that creative people have a very open channel, and sometimes they pick up on things they don't even realize that that's real. And I think that's what happened there. I don't know if they're aware. I don't think they know. I think it's just the knowing came through them, but I don't think they know. Same goes for Douglas Adams. My favorite books of all time are The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the series. Douglas Adams, as far as I'm concerned, was one of the greatest writing geniuses of all time. And I think he was also on the money with the 42 and the meaning of life and all of that. But I don't think he knew, because he was a very secular person. He actually really despised this whole kind of like, ethereal, spiritual thinking. He really didn't like that. He belonged to a different generation. But I think he was right on the money because he was super creative. So he tapped into something that he didn't even realize what it was. So I think that's how it works. Very often, by the way, this is something that might resonate with a few of you, which is that very often it happens in our lives too. Like sometimes somebody would come to you and would say something that seems so perfect to some kind of a big trajectory that you have in life, but they didn't mean that. They said it for a completely different reason, but they came to you at exactly the right time. It's one of these moments where the universe is talking to you through somebody else, but they're not aware of it. And I'm sure some of you or all of you will be able to understand what I'm talking about. Yeah, there's these like little Easter eggs in life. And I think that's kind of the same thing. When people talk to you and they don't realize that they're saying a lot more than what they realize they're saying. For the people that are seeing the code, are they shown a picture or drawing of the code before they try it? No, no. That was a question from YouTube. Sycomob. No, this was. I mean, in order to truly establish it, you're still going to have to run an actual double blind, like in a lab. But with all the people that I tried it, well, no, I never showed an image to anyone. I did tell a lot of people what they're looking for, because it's kind of, you have to kind of guide them where to look. But after they see it, it's not like it's a big misconception to think that you can just make people imagine something. It doesn't work like that. You can't be like, okay, now you're gonna think about rabbits, and all of a sudden people are gonna see rabbits everywhere. It doesn't work like that. You might see a rabbit here and there, but it's not gonna happen 100% of the time. And also, the, what I did a few times is that I told people something else, and they still saw what I didn't tell them they were supposed to see. So basically, they said, "I didn't see what you said, but I saw these Japanese-looking things." So it definitely is there. Use the same tech for those on the molecule. Have you seen the woman claiming to have written both the Matrix and the Terminator stories? Oh yeah, I saw that. Is that true, by the way? It's kind of hard to know at this point. Is she really the writer for both of them? Again, all of these people that wrote these movies, I don't think they know anything about this, like the actuality of these things. I thought I was the only one till I saw you. Oh, that's amazing, Keelan. Yeah, definitely contact me. I'm getting more and more actually. Today I also got a message from somebody who was blown away that when I was talking about these translucent objects that are different in the DMT space. They're not like the molecule space. They're different. And I'm talking about them in some of my videos, and he was like, "Oh my god, I thought I was the only one seeing them, and nobody's talking about this. They're completely different." And I guess you need to have enough experience that it's a little obscure, so not everybody can understand what is even discussed. FYI, experience videos on the website. Dropbox are gone. Huh? Wait. Oh, wait. The experience videos on the website? Oh, on the website. You're saying that on our website, the experience videos are gone? Hold on, let me check. Let me see. No meaning of logs, support research. Let me see. Huh. Oh. Weird. Okay. Thank you for telling me. Okay. What's up, Biggie Deluxe? Coming in strong. I like it. Danny, what is your opinion on prison planet theory? My position on all these kind of negative leaning theories is that I don't buy them. And I don't know, even if some of them are true, I don't see any benefit in living my life and thinking that that is what I'm in if it changes nothing. If it changes nothing, I don't care. You know what I mean? I just want to live the best life I can possibly live. Hey,
I
business.
think instead more of a prison planet. It's rather, if an advanced civilization's helping us evolve, they're not going to give us a jet right off. They're going to give us a bicycle first and then help us slowly work up, So it's not like, we are kind of quarantined, but not in prison.
Yeah, but and so that's also not a possibility. I agree. I think it's just that in terms of practicality. So I think so. Okay. So all conspiracy theories. This is actually a really good question, Biggie Deluxe. Thank you. I think all conspiracy theories essentially suffer from the same problem of delusion, and that is not to say the conspiracies don't happen. By the way, of course they do. The point is that most people consider types of conspiracies that are equivalent to magic. I had this conversation the other day with somebody on the chat where basically people believe, for example, that they think of like the Illuminati as like an organization that can essentially plan 100 years in advance and have like they have a plan for us and they're guiding the whole thing. Even if you have the most, even if you, so first of all, okay, if you believe that there's some kind of a magic, if they're gods, okay, then anything can go under that way of investigation, right? Then it's almost like a cheat code. You're just saying, well, insert magic here. I don't see the world that way. Whatever is true about the world, there's still cause and effect. And I always say it's fine to question scientific methods. It's not fine to question common sense. So you live in a world that is abiding by some kind of rules. If you want to postulate that there's something in this world that can just override all these rules, i.e., God, then essentially you throw away any amount of responsibility and agency that you have in this world, because you say, look, no matter what I do, ultimately it's all decided by this thing, and so it doesn't matter what I do. And it seems to me like it's a very convenient way of shaking off responsibility. My life sucks because it's karma versus a thing that I can do something about right now, right? So what I'm saying right now sounds like it's not really related to the conspiracy thing, but the way it relates is that all of these beliefs, they're essentially just gradations of how far you believe in magic, right? And let's define magic as in like a cheat code. It's basically just like, oh, and then this just happens. I don't believe that can ever happen. So I think that even in the context of everything that we're talking about, with these more advanced civilizations, and even civilizations that to us, for all intents and purposes, they are gods because their abilities are just, at the moment beyond comprehension. But still, there are rules by which the world somehow got to that, and then this influences you. It's always the case. You can't get out of the system, right? And because of that, there's certain things that are much less plausible than others. One of these things is, for example, a civilization that will come from the other side of the universe and enslave humanity to collect gold. What? Like, somebody's that advanced, they came from the other side, they invested all this energy and time. We're so important that they had to come to pick us. Notice how important it makes us, right? So we will be enslaved to. They can't have robots doing that. They came from the other side of the universe, and they can't automate that system. Or they need gold. They can make gold. Like there's gold made in the centers of stars. I'm sure they can do it, right? If they're that advanced. So that kind of like this whole idea of like taking and enslaving a whole civilization without them knowing it, when for sure there's much better technological solutions for whatever it is that they might be. So, for example, the movie The Matrix, right? A much better version with that. And this idea does not obviously, this critique does not originate with me, but a point was made that a much more realistic version would be if they would use human brains for computation power, because our brains are computing, so they can actually borrow computation from our brains and use that. That would actually make a lot more sense. To use us as batteries doesn't make any sense. There's much better ways to do it, right? But obviously, you know that's the idea. It was in the film, and it's fine. It's great. But it's under the same thing where if you're that advanced, the only reason for you to enslave another civilization would be out of pure evil. And by the way, that's plausible. It's possible that pure evil exists and some civilizations just are evil at their core and they just want to produce more suffering. Maybe the way they feed on negative energy, and that's why they basically farm civilizations to, all that would make more sense. Okay. But again, if I'm in that situation, I don't want to live my life thinking that, or even putting it in my brain in a way that's like, I want to go and see my friends and enjoy my family and feel good and enjoy the foods I like and interact with people that are of the flavor that makes me feel good and I can make them feel good. I choose to live my life that way. So, a lot of these beliefs are based on, I think, very superficial thinking that does not actually get to even the ideas that are right under the surface. I'm not even talking about like deep thinking, but just like if you just crack one surface down, you will see that this idea doesn't make any sense. But even then, even if there's always a possibility, of course, but then I don't want to live in a world in which that's what I'm entertaining, unless I don't know, I came up with some kind of a way to like, first of all, find out that that's true and then help break us out of that. Okay, now I can devote my life to that mission. But at the moment, all of these things are all just like speculations, and I prefer to speculate the better and not the worst. We have a lot of great comments. Let's see. Basically, Kel, you basically summarized everything I just said in 4 words. Wouldn't it change anything? So it could have saved me this rant if I would read this comment right after. Thank you. What's concerning is they may be feeding off our. Oh, you even said that. Okay, because they are disconnected from source. So from what I understand, even if we play the language game that is being implied, and we say feeding on our souls, right? From what I understand, and it's not much, but from what I understand, the soul is pure, and it is literally a chunk of the divine. So it's impenetrable. You can't feed off a soul. A soul is a soul. It's just eternal. It's part of God, right? And then if you want to say no, 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 but actually souls have these, like, and then I would say back, what are we talking about? Neither you or I know what a soul is. Like truly, we don't. So again, it just falls into this like kind of like postulation out of fear, as far as I can tell. Yeah, we wouldn't have molecule access all over the world if this were a prison. Yeah, like this is another thing with like you wouldn't have the ability to interact with these things. It would be hermetically sealed. I think it can be completely disconnected from source. It's energy. What if it's not magic, just advanced technology from being one eons evolved? Yeah, but then they can automate anything. Why enslave another civilization? Express June Carter was very upset after being briefed on UFOs. He claimed to have seen them as well. That's very possible. I don't think they're collecting gold. They can get that on asteroids. Or they can just make it. No, I guess what I was referring to there, Biggie Deluxe, is that some people, there's this theory that I don't know if it's the Anunnaki or whomever, they came and basically made us more advanced and then enslaved us, so we give them gold, and that's why we care about gold. It's it's such a flimsy argument, dude. There's so many loose ends in this story. I think they are feeding on our soul spirit. Again, that's the most rational explanation in this context, to be honest. Gold is the cover up. They don't need the cover up. We don't know about them, right? Zachariah Sitchin's translation are way off. Zachariah Sitchin's, from what I understand, is just wild. They could be pure evil, darkness. Yes. Far more negative energy. That's what I'm thinking is going on. I know it's nice not to think that, but what if it's a go? No. So I'm saying it's not nice not to think that. Is that what does it change for you if that's the case and you know it? All it means is then you also suffer even more throughout your life. It doesn't change anything. I just see multiple sources that seem to come to that conclusion. What do you mean by sources, Biggie Deluxe? When you say sources, what do you mean by that? You said you've seen multiple sources. You mean like multiple teachings that talk about that? Yeah, multiple teachings can be, misguided. Anunnaki does not mean from heaven to earth. Anu, the god, Anna, child, Ki, the goddess of earth. They are failing. Very easy to create negativity, and there's a lot of good people, lots of good people. Children of an Anki. The Anunnaki were rulers of the underworld. I've learned in the molecule realm everything I thought manifested, so it's definitely not them farming gold here. Yeah. That conspiracy comes from the Anunnaki and the gold. YouTube can be a great source. Yeah, so that's my take. That's my philosophy in life. The fact that we are capable of producing science and some things work, it's definitely a hint to me that we can figure things out, and I'm gonna stick with that until I see a better reason to do something else. I think this idea that science is the thing that is ruining humanity is an absolute abomination, truly. It actually, if anything is going to destroy the civilization, is that idea, because science ultimately is just us trying to understand the world. You can have pockets of humans using certain kinds of science to do things for personal gain that ignores the environment, and that's not good. But that's not science. That's humans misappropriating certain powers. Science is just the understanding of the world, and it should accompany us forever, even into spiritual domains. I appreciate you, Big Deluxe. Can you capture the code on video? If not possible, thought around this. I mean, hashtag science. The whole point is that you can only see it while you're on the molecule. What is interesting is that you do see it in a picture. If you take a picture of this and you're on the molecule, you will see it there. Greed is what will destroy us. Yeah, greed is definitely one of these things that will destroy us. I agree. And this is, by the way, how I define personally evil. The way I define good and evil is that the more, so you know how in reality you have, let's say, fundamental energies, and the longer arc energies, they're good, or what we would call colloquially good, and the shorter trajectory energies, they're more evil or more dark. So the closer the closed circuit is, the more evil it is, and it expresses itself in humans in attitudes. So the more open-ended you are, the more you're thinking about both not just yourself but your extended environment and other people, and your goals are much further. You're like, okay, I want to plan for maybe even for the world that I might not even be in. So like you don't even care about yourself, you're just kind of thinking out, right? That's more good. The closer you think to just yourself, the more evil you are. And then ultimately, the most evil is that when you think about just about yourself and you don't care about anything else. You don't care who gets hurt. You don't care what happens. I got what I want. That's it. The closer you get to that, the more evil you are. And that's essentially what it is. But the interesting thing is that you need both of these energies to make anything happen, because the longer ones, it's almost like you throw your hook, right? As far as you can see. But if you don't close the loop, nothing will ever happen. So you have to have some structure. You have to have some rigidity, so anything will happen. And the healthy combination of these long and closed arcs creates beautiful structures. Too loose, nothing happens, dissipates. Too close, too rigid, breaks. So extreme versions of both don't work, but together, the perfect yin and yang, they work. Okay, and they go. And that's why both of them are important. And essentially, like pure evil is almost like just that attitude run amok. And that's what happens to cancer. That's what happened to humans who don't care about the environment or other people. Psychopathy. And the more open-ended it is. And by the way, in this context, the ultimate energy that has the longest arc is the energy that goes from the beginning to the end and does not close at any point. So it's from alpha to omega, there's one arc, and that is God. I am the alpha and the omega. So it's from the beginning to the end, it's the ultimate good. There's enough here on this planet for every human needs, but not for their greed. That's very smart. That is actually, by the way, this is true. All the famine in the world at the moment, none of it is based of lack of resources. There's plenty to go around. It's all political bottlenecks, all of it. If somebody's starving, it's because somebody else made a decision about it. In all cases. The Egyptian philosophy of the weight, what is it? Weighing of the heart against the feather. Oh yeah, isn't it with the business? Is it with the god crocodile or something? That it observes you, and if you don't pass, then it eats your soul or something, or eats you.
Yeah, it's the test on whether or not you get to go to the afterlife, or you got to start over again and reincarnate.
Oh wow, that sounds gnarly. 51% service to others, 41 service to self. Yeah, I guess that's a really good balance. There's no others, no self. Well, in the context of this experience, definitely there is. What's your opinion on Greys being future humans? I'm struggling with this one because that's not what I'm saying, but I know people that are kind of seemingly really good people, positive players in the space, like Bashar. He seems to be saying that. So my immediate reaction to that is that this is where Bashar takes it one step too far. Like I think he shouldn't venture into these places because he gives great life advice. But the second he starts making truth claims, I think he's getting himself into like unnecessary territory. I don't think he knows that, and I also don't think that's true. But I can be wrong and it can be right. But that's my position. Hey, chillaxed. Wait, did you disappear? What did you say? Hey, Danny. Also, Grace, I feel like yesterday, I think yesterday or the day before, I told the story about. Oh wait, I have something on YouTube. What's the dosing requirements to be able to see it? I get some dreams, just need laser. Sub breakthrough for sure, but you gotta weigh it in. Sycamore, you have to either fully launch and then when you get back you just sit there and observe, or you go slow and you keep it under breakthrough. If you break through, it's fine, but obviously you have to be coherent and sit there. What leads one to believe that there is a simulation? What proof points in that direction? Thank you for the question, JT. So the what I discovered is that if you project a diffracted laser on the surface and you ingest a particular molecule that I cannot name here, but if you watch my videos, you'll know what I mean, you will see codes running in surfaces. And that's now been replicated over 1,000 times. And it's at the moment it's basically under discussion because it's basically 100% replicable and it's extremely coherent. A guide would be nice. A guide you have on codeofreality.com. We have a little website called codeofreality.com, and you have the protocol there. You have all the stuff that you need to in order to get the laser from Amazon or Alibaba. We can even make it for you and ship it to you. But I mean, you also have all the materials there, so you can just buy it and make it yourself. And it's pretty straightforward. So that would be one hint. But it's a deeper answer to your question, JT, is that it's a very long discussion, obviously. There's a lot of reasons to think that, even from just a physics standpoint. there's good reasons to believe by looking at how and how entropy behaves in information, which is it's basically the opposite of what it does in material. And a lot of the world basically behaves like somebody's trying to optimize a computational system. If you look up Melvin Vopson, Melvin, last name Vopson, Vopson, he's a physicist from London who wrote a paper in which he claiming to discover this new law of nature he calls the second law of infodynamics. And he shows how basically the world behaves like a computational system that is being optimized. But this is just one of the hints. And we talked about it the other day. Google just managed to create an environment in which they had spontaneously self-replicating entities just arise inside the code, which is another hint that it's just something fundamental about the world. I remember Bashar from years. I don't buy it. He has great advice and good message, but his act has changed over the years. I don't know enough about him. All I can say is that, well, I'll tell you what I think in a moment. Psychoanalysts have done research on how to use of illicit substances. I'm not sure. Can you say that? Can you specify? S. Melantine can activate genetics, psychosis, and environmental. One second, and then it's gonna shut down their audio. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, S. Melantine. I'm not sure what is the relevance of this. Melvin Vopson. Vopson. Do you think the molecular realm is prime reality? It gives you access to see more prime reality, yes. Do you think entities you've connected with could possibly be manipulating? Absolutely. Yeah, Vopson, exactly. And he actually wrote, Melvin Vopson also wrote a really good book. It's on I actually had a conversation with him on my website, on my show on YouTube. So Gene Hughes, I'm not sure how to pronounce your last name, but I hope I'm not butchering it too much. Jin, if you go to Dango Thoughts on YouTube, I think it's 3 conversations down. I have a conversation with him. Do you think and to your question, Biggie Deluxe, if I think that some entities are manipulating, of course, anybody can be manipulating. All I'm claiming to know with certainty is that someone real is there. That I know with 100% certainty. So I know that this is not just like reflections of us. Or no, that's like straight up a civilization, and it's not us. Absolutely, Jen. Let me know how you liked it. But I'm constantly being very attentive to what is going on and what it seems to be, because I'm never putting any real trust outside of what I can know in the moment. And I think that's the best way to go about these things. On YouTube, somebody's asking, did you think about taking it live and explaining what you see? Yeah, somebody suggested it the other day, actually doing it during a full moon. I don't want to do the molecule before my retreat. I'm supposed to go to a meditation retreat in 2 days. But after that, I think I'll definitely do that. That'll be interesting. It's a great idea. Thank you. Do you think our purpose here is to share this info with the world? I think our purpose is to just live our lives and follow what feels natural to each and every one of us. To me, what feels natural is to try and understand the world. It was always my drive. And so I don't really, if somebody wants to say, we all have our own simulation. So in my simulation, I found this code, or I found one way to see this code that I think is can help science to actually bring it to the next level. And that's what I'm doing. So if it is all confirmed to be true, what would it mean to be practical world? Well, first of all, it would mean that whomever is running it, the simulation probably wants us to know, because otherwise it would not be visible. It just wanted us to kind of, it's almost like an intelligence test to see if we're capable of understanding what's going on. And then we can either utilize the code maybe for something or communicate through the code with the more expansive world. I'm not sure. I feel like it's kind of like asking somebody when they just discovered quantum physics, what might be the practical uses of it. It was actually never clear to um, the first people who interacted with it that it will ever be applicable to anything that has to do with our lives. But within 20 years, less than 20 years, we all of a sudden used it to build transistors and and computers and things like that. So you never know. If it's true, we want to know it. Is my line. Careful live, off screen only. Yep. Thank you, Cal. Definitely. Yeah. Did you do it yesterday? I suggested doing it. Oh yeah. That was UCLX. Cool. No, I didn't. So you didn't miss anything. Oh, you're asking if it's my purpose? Maybe. I don't know. I only know what I know in the moment because it might be changing all the time. Eric Doggins seems to be a puzzle, and only a few wake up and realize. I keep saying legend. That's awesome. According to research, NDE-OB are very rare occurrences prior to TikTok. Not everybody's doing it. Oh, I see what you're saying. So, S. Melantine making the point that before there was social media, researchers showed that NDEs and I don't know what OOB is, but they are very rare occurrences, and now everybody seems to have them. And then you say, make that make sense. Well, actually, it makes perfect sense, even if that's because more people are aware of what it is, so more people are talking about it. That will be one explanation of that. The other thing is that so it might have been much more common than they realized because they didn't have access to all the people that are talking about it. That will be one. So their data was skewed, not the other way around. And the other explanation is that I can tell you, at least from the domain where I'm somewhat have quite a bit of experience, a researcher that studied the brain for 30 years has nothing of value to say more than somebody who has tremendous experience, let's say, with particular psychedelics, like hands down. Because unless they've experienced it themselves, they don't have the point of reference. They're connecting it to things that they know from their regular life, and none of them has these kind of qualities. So they are literally colorblind, and they're teaching everybody about color. And that is not possible. So any researcher that is researching this stuff, unless they had an NDE themselves, they do not understand it one bit, because they're making inferences and comparisons to things that they think they know, and they're essentially trying to explain it away. They don't have direct experience of it. Researchers who study psychedelics and do them have a much better understanding than people who never tried them. The beliefs of CIA is a gateway experience files may play a role near death and out of body. Got it. I thought Robert Monroe was doing it since 1970s. Out of body experience. Thank you for everybody for that, for explaining what OB is to me. By the way, the book arrived yesterday, Reality Switch Technology. Oh, that's awesome. That's a great book. And actually, that is a book I would recommend. S. Melantine. I would recommend you read Reality Switch Technologies by Gallimore. Always with me for references. This will give you a good understanding of all the neuroscience that is involved. from someone who himself is a neuroscientist and also is very experienced with these things. But at least with, especially with the two, like you're talking about out of body, and you're talking about near death, these are rare occurrences. But again, because of that, I would assume the most researchers that are studying it never had them. And it's, again, this is an old thought experiment. I forget who it originated with. Maybe you guys will know. But it's this: the thought experiment is, let's say there's a scientist who studies. She lives in a black and white room. She's been there her whole life for some reason. Let's say she was a bubble girl. She's some kind of autoimmune. She cannot exit the room. She never seen color in her life somehow, and she only saw black and white her whole life. Okay, but then she started studying color. And she studied color, and she talked about wavelengths and how they change and how certain people see more colors than others, like tetrachromatic women, and all of these facts about what colors are and all of that, right? And then she steps outside and she sees color for the first time. So the question is, did she learn something? And the answer is simple. She learned infinite amount. She knew nothing about color until she saw it. And that is exactly the position that researchers who study things like out-of-body experience and near-death experiences that never had them. And not a little bit, completely. Like they have no clue what it is. They just hear accounts of this. So for example, people would say, I've encountered these beings, I've encountered these angels. And the researcher will write, encountering with some archetypical ideas of parents or something like that. Look how much already is being like going through a filter, right? Versus the person had an experience of absolute certainty. Why? Because there's a certain certainty to experiences that are real. But this element of the realness of it versus just the story I'm telling you about it is completely opaque from the perspective of the listener of the story. Unless you are experiencing the live version of it, you don't know why it's so real. You can't explain that with words. That is beyond people who never done these things. But to be honest, I bet all secret societies have that in their protocol already. You mean the gateway thing? So the business, did you try the gateway tapes? Vanessa, what are you talking about? I'm not sure which one you're referring to, because we have like a bunch of conversations all in tandem. So welcome. That's how I feel.
Downloaded the tapes a couple of years ago, but I just revisited them recently. So yeah, obviously the molecule helps you immediately get there, but the tapes are supposed to, help you do it in a more natural way.
Oh yeah, did you feel the difference last time you tried it?
Yeah, I'm on like step 7 now, and it's almost like I feel myself lifting out of my body, but I haven't like fully disconnected yet. I think because I've been so babied by the instant release that I'm like I know what to expect if it does happen. I just haven't done it naturally yet.
Interesting. Yeah, I tried it. I finished all the recordings they had. It's really interesting what it does. I recommend that people who are interested in that just to try. It is definitely something. That's how I feel about existing. Can't get it till I can see it. Exactly. Why it's realer than real? Kane is asking. Well, you can answer this in different ways. You can answer it actually from a very technical perspective. The same feeling you have when you wake up in the morning from a realistic dream, and then realizing that this is real life and the dream was the dream. You never think about it because it doesn't matter, so you just move on with your day. But your brain used certain parameters to determine that was the dream and this is real life. One of them is edge detection. So, for example, in real life, edges in your brain, you have very particular neurons responsible for edge detection, like where objects end, right? So the edge detection of this is much more concrete than it would be in a dream. In a dream, it's just kind of like cloudy, right? Another thing is temporal realism. So like things are continuous. It's not like You're sitting with your grandpa, and all of a sudden you're in the mall riding on an escalator with a gorilla next to you. Like, it's just like cacophony of nonsense sometimes, right? Or you are someone else, or like there's no rigidity to the temporal dimension. And there are a lot of other parameters. But these parameters is something that your brain establishes to orient itself and understand what environment it's in. When it's in when the senses we have inhibit the dream state, you call it reality. It's the same machinery. So now the same thing happens to you, for example, specifically with the molecule, the same thing happens to you one level up. So when you get there, it feels like this was the dream because the edge detection is higher, colors are more vibrant, you feel that things are more continuous over time. So all of these things, all these markers go one level up. And these markers, notice that they're all qualitative, right? Some of them you can describe them in I guess in quantitative ways. So you can say, well, the edge detection means the resolution of the line is much finer. Okay, so that one I'll give you. You can do like a quantitative analysis. But a lot of these parameters, they're very qualitative. It's just like you just have to experience them to know what that means. Okay. And a lot of this stuff, when we're talking about especially like near-death experiences, like I've never had it, but and by the way, I was one of these people that always ruled it out, like just like a lot of researchers probably did, which is like it's mostly something about the human psychology that is going through a trauma. So again, these are attempts to explain it away from the perspective of somebody who never had these experiences. But if they would have this experience, they would not be so convinced, because a lot of these qualitative elements would signal to them, no, this is real, because it behaves even more real than this environment under all these parameters. I hope this makes more sense.
Yeah, I'll never forget one of my first like hyper ultra reality experiences. It was the first time I broke through about 15 years ago. One of the first things the entities said to me is like, "Oh, glad to have you back. How's the first 26 minutes of the simulation for you?" I'm like, 20, what are you talking about? Where the hell am I? What's going on? They're like, yeah, I mean, 26 years down there is only like 26 minutes here. And I'm like, holy shit, who the hell are you guys? And then they looked at each other and they like looked back at me, and in unison, it was like 7 of them. They're like, "We're your family." And then right then I went through another wormhole, and you know the rest. But it was the first, that sensation of hyper reality. That's like, I still remember it to this day, 15 years later. And just like you're saying, you can't, I mean, that's really the only analogy to use for people that haven't experienced it, is waking up from a dream and realizing that was a dream and this is real life. And it could be infinitely up that way until we get to source.
Exactly. And notice that here, the only reason we can use this analogy is because most people experience what it's like to wake up from a dream. So they have the experience of what it's like to go from thinking that was reality to now thinking that this is reality. So they know what it's like to feel that, right? But if somebody who never remembered the dream in their life, or never dreamed because they have some weird condition, you can't use this analogy with them, because they will say, wait, what do you mean? But like, what do you mean? Like, what is a dream? And then you're stuck, because they have no point of reference. And that's essentially what the problem with explaining this is.
I joke around and I say that's like the NPC test. If somebody says they don't remember their dreams and they never have, I'm like, oh, okay, like noted, NPC.
Damn, that's harsh. Poor person. Not only they get screwed in life, now you're also judging them.
That sucks to have never had like a sensation where you're flying in a dream or any kind of fantastical like situation dreaming. For someone to have never experienced that yet in life, I feel so bad for them.
Yeah, man, that I'm with you. Patricia is saying, I had an out-of-body experience doing yoga nidra a lot. Wait, what kind of positions are you getting into? I want to know. This is do you see your body in that position in that moment? I'm actually interested. This is interesting. You know how in a dream everything and everyone is all just you? I feel like reality is just like that. Yeah, I agree with that. Pollutionex. It's a cool handle, but I can't read it.
Pollution X.
Pollution X. See, that's I'm telling you.
Spelling bee champion here, so.
Oh, nice. I'm the opposite of that. So if there was a competition of sucking at this the most, that'll be me. I'll be number one.
Perfect combo. Perfect combo. A dyslexic man and a spelling bee champ.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
go.
it's perfect. We complete each other. That sometimes my brain does things that I'm like, oh man, I wish people would have what I have because this is awesome. Like I would see things that I'm like, this is wild. This is, no, and then so the funniest thing to me is when people say, dyslexia is not a real condition. I'm like, no, it's a real condition. I literally my brain sometimes jumbles words that's just like it's out of this world. No, I'm saying that why it's realer than real. Oh, I see. Love Christmas. Is the molecule what I think it is? Yes. This is great. I have multiple sclerosis, and I often wonder if it sides or hinders my ability. Huh. Interesting. Wait, have you ever?
You can't fully relax, maybe.
Yeah. Wait, did you try it? I think I missed that part. I wish I'd have molecule prior. Oh, wait. So you did try it. What are the recordings you're talking about? Getting there naturally from frequency? It's called. It's so. Well, it was adopted by the Monroe Institute, but from what I understand, it was. Wait, was the Monroe Institute that came after the CIA tests, right? Not the other way around. Doesn't really matter. It's called the Gateway tapes. So if you YouTube Gateway recordings, you should have, I think it's like 42 or 43 recordings, and just do them one by one by order. And you got to lay down. It's like each one of them is like 45 minutes or something.
If I'm correct, I think the CIA adopted the Monroe Institute files, and then they did like a deep dive, like study on it to verify that it was a true phenomenon taking place.
Oh, maybe you're right. Yeah. So I stand corrected. I wasn't sure, but yeah. So basically, the CIA tried to use it to see if they can, create super spies that can like remote view and all that stuff. One thing that is super interesting. I'm sure that most of you know who Richard Feynman was, right? The physicist. And he wrote a couple of little autobiographies. One of them is the first one's called Surely You're Joking, Mr. Feynman. If you've never read it, you can also listen to the audiobook. It's also great. It's amazing. So, he was a nut. Like truly. He was such an interesting person. Because he had so many interests in like things that have nothing to do with physics. He taught himself how to play the bongos, and he like joined this random band in Brazil. He taught himself how to break into safes, and he was breaking into all the secret files. And when he was working in Los Alamos, the Manhattan Project, he was so fun to just follow around throughout his life. And because he was so open-minded, and this is by his own words, so this is not like an urban legend, he got into going into isolation tanks, and he started practicing. And he had some friends that are more kind of like, I guess, spiritually predisposed, and they told him about, because what he noticed that he can just basically take his attention from being behind his eyes and then move it around. So he said all of a sudden I could move my attention to be in the stomach, I could be in my shoulder, I could be in all kinds of places. And then he told this to a friend of his who was more, spiritually literate. And he told him, well, you should try and get out of your body. And he was like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, you can totally do it. And he was like, okay. So he tried it, and he managed to do it. And I only recently discovered this. This is crazy. So Richard Feynman used to do like remote viewing. He would project himself out of the body. He obviously explained it in a very different way to himself because he was a scientist. So he, in that time, nobody was kind of talking this kind of thing. So he said that this is basically like a trick of the mind or something. But he was talking about, like, he was doing it. So there's definitely something very, very interesting there. And the Monroe Institute, these tapes that I'm telling you about that you can just listen for free on YouTube, they're supposed to help you loosen up this machinery and get to this place where you can do that. And I've tried it, and I have to tell you, it is interesting. Yeah, I lucid dream all the time, but now I get too excited when I start flying and wake up. Can you fly without getting excited? No, that's the practice. I only flew once in a dream. It was cool. Oh, man. Yeah, every time I lucid dream, I immediately fly. What do you want to say to business?
Oh, no, yeah. I mean, I've been lucid dreaming since I was like 5 years old, and I think I fly like 5 nights a week.
Dude, you're so lucky. That's, by the way, did you know? Maybe that's also why you were a spelling master, because they discovered that this is not. I gotta find the research, but I know they actually studied this. That if you can lucid dream, you can actually accelerate a lot of learning things in the dreams, because time is not as it doesn't have the same rate. So maybe you should try it because you can do this on a regular basis. See if you can pick up a task that you've never done before, maybe something, I don't know, whatever it is, something in math or something in physics that is like a little bit more advanced, and then see if you can teach yourself in like a week something that would usually take you like a month. That would be interesting to see, because I know that they studied this, and especially specifically with lucid dreaming, you should be able to do that.
Well, yeah, I'm going to become a neuroscientist within the next week, so you and I can start retreats together. How about that?
Let's do it. There's actually this guy. Do you know who? What's his name? Tim? No, Temet. Temet. What's his first name? Let's see. Temet. Math genius. Daniel Tammet. You know who that is?
I don't.
So Daniel Tammet, you guys should YouTube this. If you can find the BBC Horizon special about him, just do Daniel Tammet Horizon, BBC Horizon. Maybe you'll be able to find it on YouTube. If not, search for it. It's worth the watch. I mean, there's a lot of documentaries about him, but that's a really good one. Basically, he had a stroke when he was like 3 or 4 years old or something like that. So he was completely normal. And after the stroke, he became a savant. But what's interesting is that he became one of the only savants in the world who retained his regular abilities. So basically, he gained two extraordinary abilities. I'll tell you what they are in a moment. But he also retained his ability to communicate. Because usually savants, they do one thing in it on an insane level, and then they can't do anything else. They can't even tie their shoes. But he maintained all of his faculties in check, which made him very special because he could also talk about what he's experiencing. One of his abilities is that he can feel numbers and mathematical relationships. So he could tell you, like, you can give him like anything, any equation, anything. He will just give you the answer because he sees it, and there's like a way that he uses to determine it. And what's interesting is that there are techniques that people can learn that will allow you to do something similar. They do it in I think in China or Japan. I think China. They have like special schools of how to calculate things very fast. But the way they tested that he's not doing that is that they connected him to a lie detector, which I don't know if you know, but it just basically measures the galvanic response, which means that literally the smallest perspiration from your skin, and if you're lying, there's like it immediately changes. So basically, it measures an emotional response, and they ran they ran pi, all the decimal points of pi, and purposefully they planted mistakes in pi. And every time a mistake would happen, his galvanic response is shot through the roof, and that's before the brain can even register. So before your prefrontal cortex can actually fire up, because that's where the higher thinking happens, right? He just have an emotional reaction to the fact that it's wrong. So they knew that he's literally feeling it. And for a long time, he held the Guinness record. Now somebody broke the Guinness record, I think, reciting, I think, like 22,500 decimal points of pi without any mistake. But the other ability he developed was that he could learn any language in a week. And the way they tested him in the documentary is they challenged him to learn Icelandic in 1 week, which is notorious for being the most difficult language to pronounce and to understand the grammar of. And he studied for a week. And then his test was that he had to go on national television in Iceland and have a full-on conversation with the hosts. And he did it. And the hosts were like just blown away. They're like, his pronunciation was perfect. Like he could understand everything. He could talk to them in 1 week. It's wild.
Those are two of the coolest abilities to receive after a situation like that ever.
Yeah, so I highly recommend a documentary about him. Super interesting guy.
I just found it online, so I'll bookmark it.
Yeah. He's now obviously a math professor, but he became famous because of this. Let's see. Yeah, I lucid dream all the time, but now I get to excited when I get stuff. Oh, okay, we saw that. Do you guys go to the same places and sleep? There's a whole life seem to have in my dreams. I've heard about this before. I've been in the same place in a dream a few times, but not very often. I would assume because you have your experience 5 times a week, you probably visit the same place a lot, right? The business. The yoga nidra doing was a whole weekend doing it repeatedly, just lying in savasana. Wow, that's wild. Okay, maybe Charlotte Melasso. I'll be done in about 10 minutes. She can wait, you think, or no? Okay. Our dogs are going wild, so yeah, dream life. The time passes about the same as this life. We create our own reality. I agree with that. Whoa, there's a lot of comments. I didn't even see it. Woo! This is awesome. One row first, safe. Yes, the tapes are saved. This is true facts. So that's engaging in sync methods. Stories from Los Alamos are best. Yep. Eric Doggin. I love this. Again, I would recommend it again. It's Surely You're Joking, Mr. Feynman. Incredible book. Super short, hilarious. Surely You're Joking, Mr. Feynman. Relax. Okay, I'm gonna go through some of these comments, and then I'll have to adjourn because our dogs are truly getting wild here. Have you ever grabbed the silver cord? Wait, which silver cord?
The silver cord is what keeps you attached to your body whenever you're having an out of body experience.
Oh, it's a known thing?
Yeah.
Oh.
A lot of people have said that. So it's almost like, when you're on the molecule and you're completely broken through, but let's say somebody kicked in the bedroom door, you'd immediately go back into your body and wake up from it. It's like they say that the silver cord is the thing that allows you to be so completely out in the universe somewhere, but at a moment's notice, come right back.
That's interesting. Maybe somebody here would have insight about this. So sometimes when I'm on the molecule, every person in reality is you. There's a possible simulation also. Synesthesia. I don't read this. Yeah, so wait, let me just get through these. You would like Oliver Sacks stories. It's like an alternative version of City of Fly Around. Remind us what's the topic today. Yeah, because today the topics are very, we just talk about whatever. We're talking about dreams at the moment, but it goes back and forth. So welcome. There you go. How are you, Maxi? So yeah, maybe somebody here might have an insight about this, which is sometimes when I'm in the molecule, they keep telling me, look up. And they get because I don't understand, they get frustrated with me. They're like, up, look up. And I'm like, where? I have a skull. What do you want from me? like this. What do you want me to do? They're like, up, look up. And I'm like, and then what I notice is that if I actually look up with my eyes like this, I do see a separated content right above, where the blackness begins here. I can see a different content, but I can't see very well because it's kind of. So I guess maybe they're saying I don't know, open your third eye, look up, but I don't know how to do that. So maybe somebody here has some insights into that.
Almost like when you get there, you're in the waiting room and they're trying to show you the true expanse that's waiting on you.
Not even a waiting room. I'm just here, but they'll tell me, look up. You can look up. Look. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what. And one time it was hilarious because I had a whole thing with them for 20 minutes, and I see literally beings standing in front of me, and everybody going, up, dude, up, look, and I'm like, what do you want from me? I don't understand what you want from me. I'm like, where? And then there was this one dude standing, kind of looked like a robot, and I was like, okay, you look cool. Come on, have some patience with me. Help me out. Explain to me what they want from me. And he was like, dude. I'm like, what? And for a long time, I thought they're just fucking with me.
I'm sorry.
I thought they were just fucking with me, but then I heard other people say that. I was like, okay, well, there's something we don't understand, or maybe somebody does, but I don't. Yeah, basically look up without looking. Like, yeah, like look up somewhere. I'm like, where? I'm like, you see, I have a skull, right? Like, I can't do this. I don't know how many dimensions you made out of, but I can't do that.
Charlotte just commented that she got a message that they are 2 to 3 feet above us. And I've heard that before too. It's almost like our souls are, like if you're looking at the chakra system, like the soul, is like a couple of feet above us.
Maybe, yeah. No, they seem to be pointing to like a third, just in the 3-dimensional space. Like they don't mean anything metaphorical. And what's interesting is then, let's see. Also, I see that Charlotte said that. Oh, she also said about 2 to 3, and she said, yes, they get frustrated and giggle at me. Yeah, basically that. It's exactly my experience when that happens. And then, ever seen Alex great picture of bog being? No. Should I look it up? What do you know about the 2 to 3 feet? Charlotte is saying, what do you know about the 2 to 3 feet? I've heard this something similar before. I do also know that. So, what was that thing? So first of all, definitely, I've heard a few people say, well, do you feel what's here? And I'm like, no. And they seem to be like convinced. And then they would say, well, we can't tell you. Like you have to figure it out. But like we can't tell you. Like it's forbidden to tell you. So that was interesting. I met this guy in Montenegro one time, and he's I guess what you would call like a psychic, or it was actually really interesting because when I sat next to him, he said that he basically makes you like laser focused, and I felt it for sure. Like you sit in front of him, and he just talks to you, and all of a sudden you understand everything about what you need to do next. Like everything's so clear, right? And he told me like, I think you can feel it, and he was the one that told me like, okay, there's something above you somewhere. I can't tell you where, and I can't tell you what it is. Do you feel it? I'm like, no. He's like, sorry, man, I can't help you. Like you have to figure it out. But I'm like literally, it's forbidden for somebody else to tell you. Like you have to figure it out. So I mean, I think
the only sensation I felt like that when it's almost like Andre the Giant's hand on the back of my skull, almost like I can't. But just like you're saying, I still can't look up. I felt that sensation you're talking about, where it's like the ultimate goal they're trying to get you to do is to look up, but for some reason we're not able to look up somehow.
What if this is basically the ultimate heist, and they're just planning the day that they will teach all humans to just do this for a second? Then when we do that, they just steal all of our purses. They just take all of it.
Oh, that's where all the fractal gifts come from. Yeah, they're just getting stolen.
They're just like, they're all looking up. Get it? Got your bitch. So they're all Dave Chappelle for this.
Oh, that's my favorite. One of my favorite phrases from the
show. It's the thing is that so people basically saying. Patricia, you're saying open the third eye. Obviously, that was the first thing that I thought and then I felt very inadequate. I'm like, I have no idea how to do this. Okay, and then, but the thing is, again, I've done quite a few meditation retreats. I used to meditate every day, 2 hours a day. Like I'm familiar, but I've seen some content, but it's not. Maybe I'm just I don't know, spiritually retarded. I don't know, but like I can't do that, right? But it really doesn't feel like in this case they're talking about anything like that. Oh, I just remembered. They seem to be talking about like a specific just up, like 3D up. Okay. And I do remember I had one experience way back in the day. It was way before the laser. I already started having these like ultra realistic experiences with these beings, but it was I was nowhere near thinking that I might figure something out. And then I had one experience where I ended up in this giant dome, and the dome was filled to the brim, like everywhere, with these, I guess like a honeycomb, like the where bees live, right? And each and every slot was filled with these basically like receptionists, and I could see other beings are popping there like me, and I'm standing under one of these receptionists. And its only job was to guide me where to look up. So he was like trying to get. He was like, no, no, a little more, no, no, to the right, no, 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 right here, right here. There's, and then it just keeps like telling me, no, 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 a little bit. So literally, it's their whole job. This entire space of all the beings from all the dimensions flying into this little place, and it's almost like their only job is to show you where to look exactly. It's almost like there's a key, and the second you look there, it opens something. So,
Wow,
and
Danny, I've had frame for frame that same exact experience.
you did.
I have, yeah.
So it's like white, right? Everything is white.
Yeah. It's like beyond the wormholes, beyond the ethereal. It's like a whole nother place you pop into.
Check out Jeffrey
And
Michel.
it's almost like one of Alex Gray's paintings.
Yeah. Very, very similar to that. Just like
Yeah.
you know the one that he goes like the man that goes like this, like with the hand up and the hand down, and like the earth and heaven. Was
Right.
like
Each little square is like a whole nother
Yeah.
reality going on.
so I do think it's somewhere. It's almost like it literally felt like there's some point here somewhere, and for me, I think it was like to the right somewhere here. And I'm supposed to look exactly there, and if I do, it's supposed to open some kind of a gate. Maybe it opens what Tom Matt is describing as upside, and it would make sense because he calls it upside. I wondered. I'm so glad I wandered in here. I feel less crazy. That's how I always feel at Burning Man.
Yeah, it's so nice to be able to not just like tell people this information, but them to be able to reciprocate and like build on the conversation. Because wow, it's so hard when you can't get past step one with most people.
Yeah, and you know, I've gotten emails not once, quite a few times of people that just tell me, listen, like I can't tell you who I am and blah blah blah, but I've had, and they describe like a bunch of things to me. They're like, and I know this is real, but I can't talk to anyone about this because I'm gonna lose my job. Because they're like a lawyer or something like that. They're like, I'm just gonna lose my job. I'm gonna lose my license.
Right.
So and I'm like, dude, must be a nightmare that you can't talk to anybody about this stuff. My body had an out of body. I guess he was sitting on his floor, and he said he was all of a sudden something. It will come in a moment. It's because it looks again. I'm a veterinarian, and people know I'm crazy. Well, at least you're not working with people. Actually, when I started having my ultra realistic experiences, I couldn't believe what was happening. So I started searching online, and I found a whole community of people sharing experiences like this. And there was one story of this therapist from Florida, I remember, and he had almost identical experience to mine, which for like a year on the molecule, he was talking to aliens, like straight up talking to like a phone call. And he had the like super similar experience to mine. And then after a year, he literally thought about quitting his job and just doing this all day because it's like, you're just like, dude, I just discovered the phone call to the aliens. I don't need to work anymore. That's kind of like the impression, right? As if you're going to get a paycheck from hyperspace. And then he was like, okay. After a while, he didn't know what to do with it because it wasn't really going anywhere. And then he himself had to go to a therapist. And then the other therapist told him, okay, you're not talking to aliens. You got to stop doing this. But the funny thing is, and it was almost like premonition for me. I was like I knew that this is a real thing that might end up happening to me the same way, in which it doesn't really get anywhere, and that's where people drop it. And that's when I decided, I'm like, no, I'm gonna figure this out. Like, if this is real, I'm gonna figure this out. And I guess at least something I definitely figured it out. In a field, something was telling him to look up. When he did, he said he saw that picture. Interesting. Who is this? Let me see. Oh, that's the guy that you tell me that I should. You ever check out Jeffrey Mishlov on YouTube? Interview scientists from Getaway Project and Astral. I'll check him out, but I'll be honest with you. Usually, let me see. Usually, I try to steer away from channels that define themselves as, around astral and spiritual and psychedelic, all that stuff. I'm trying to divorce myself from that because it has a certain flavor, and I don't want to associate with that flavor. Let's see. Jeffrey. I think that's why it's not being taken seriously, because people define that as that, and it gets automatically basically binned with things that are not scientific or not real. Mishlov. Let's see. No, I've never seen it before. Should be interesting. Yeah, but whenever people are too much into it, I'm having a very hard time having a conversation with them, because I don't come from the space of like being into it. That's the thing. I just kind of dropped into it. In a field, something was. Oh, okay. I had an experience that blew my mind, and when we tell it, people are underwhelmed. Yeah, because it's lacking that component of the actual realness. Like, it's so hard to deliver how real it is. I think that's what's missing there. And then sometimes people will tell me, and this is what also why sometimes I'm having a hard time having conversations with people that are more kind of like predisposed to really be into it, because they seem to not care. So, like, about the realness of it. They seem to like if you would say that to them, they would say, "Yeah, but does it really matter?" And I'm always like, "Yeah, it matters. If it's real, it really matters." And they're like, "Who cares?" I'm like, "I care. I think you should care too." And from going on journeys, I knew exactly what he was talking about. Interesting. You're ultra realtor.
Yeah,
This
so
is
when I'm
great.
like showing houses to people, I'm like, this would be a good space to experience the molecule in. Do you agree? Like, look how good this space is.
Do you gauge people first, or do you just being yourself? You don't care.
Well, no, always, I live on like referrals and past clients. I rarely work with people I don't know. So yeah, they I gauge people for sure.
He's a realtor, and he goes like, I'm ultra realtor. This is great. And he's in Tennessee. So hey, if we're ever looking for a home in Franklin, Tennessee, do you work in Franklin as well? Can you help us find a house there?
All of Middle Tennessee. I'm based out of Nashville, but all of Tennessee, I'm licensed.
Amazing. Well, might be using your services. That's something made me want to quit my job. Wait. Yes, I have met some. I think maybe want to quit my job and want to work with aliens. Tell me about it. That would be such a great job description. What do you do? I work with aliens. What do you feel you know as of now? Oh man, that's that's a big question. That is a big question. The honest answer is, all I can tell you with absolute certainty is that this is real. Something is there. This is real. All the other details, it's all tentative. New Thinking Aloud in his channel. Yeah, I just interviews a tons of people that have done research. I see. Cool. I'm searching my path and sort of stuck. Do you want to tell us, Jin, specifically how you feel you're stuck? Like in life? What to do next? That kind of stuff? Exactly. I believe that the science is there, but we just don't understand yet. Yep. Alex Gray, the experience I'm referring to was without any substances. Oh yeah, I got that thing about you in general, Patricia. You seem to have extra access, which I'm very jealous of this. Andrew Gallimore is doing some great scientific work. 100%. I always recommend his books. Almost woke up the whole house to tell them where I went. No one cared. Exactly. You know what I did in the first time that something really crazy happened to me? I would have cared. Oh, that's so adorable. Yes, it matters. I'll tell you in a moment. Yes, it matters. The existence of humankind and its place in the universe feels important to me. Yep, I know. I'm excited. There are more of us. Exactly. So what I did, no one cared. Exactly. When I did it for the first time, this is a true story. It's really funny because it was almost like in a movie. It happened to me. So basically, the short version of that is that I actually came back from a meditation retreat. I felt called to do it. I'm only adding it to the story always because it's just chronologically what happened. I don't know if it's related necessarily, but maybe my mind was clear. I have no idea. But then I thought about it, and then I smoked a bunch of it, and then nothing. 45 minutes later, I realized that nothing happened. Like I was just staring at the ceiling and just having like a daydream. And I was like, wait, what? I smoked so much of it. How can it be? So it's possible that I had like a whiteout and I don't remember. But as far as I can tell, nothing happened. And then I'm just like, what? And then I sat up and I actually thought about this speech that Terence McKenna once gave about that maybe this is an alien disguising as a drug. But like I thought about it like in all seriousness, like, wait, what if this is an actual civilization? And then I thought that, and the whole room flashed white, and literally a frog dude appeared right next to me, next to my bed, like a real person just standing next to me. And I was just, what just happened? And then I hear like whispers all over the room. Oh, he's paying attention. What do we say? What do we say? He's paying attention. I was like, what? I was like, okay, what? And then he started pointing at the guitar in the room. The whole room is pointing at the guitar. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, oh, they want to tell me something through music theory. I'm like, I'm just practicing. I don't know anything. I'm not a musician. And they're like, just go to the guitar. And I was like, okay, okay. I get up, I go to the guitar, I pick it up. He disappears and appears from one side of the room to the other side of the room like that. Like, and he puts his frog fingers on my guitar and he's like, do this, do this. And I'm like, okay. And then I start like playing and music comes up. So he's like, I'm real. You don't know how to do this. This is real information. And I was like, oh, what? And I was like, holy shit. And then the first thing I did was I had a postdoc in physics in the other room because he was renting one of my rooms in Airbnb because I lived right next to UCLA. And it was this PhD postdoc from Italy. His name is Marco. So I'll never forget this because I exclaimed his name. Like literally when that happened, I went, Marco! And it was like 2 a.m. So this physicist who sleeps in the other room, and I'm just screaming his name. So like luckily he didn't wake up because what would I tell him that a multidimensional frog taught me how to play the guitar, right? He would pack his bags in that moment. So then the next thing I did is I called my best friend, and at that point it was like 2:30 because I kind of came to my senses, and I'm like calling my best friend, and this is how good of a friend he is. He's like, "What?" I'm like, "You gotta come here. You gotta come here right now." And he's like, "Okay," and he just came over. And then he came over, and I'm like, "Okay, Joe, listen to this." So I told him what happened, and I was so excited to this thing that you're saying like no one cared. Like I literally told him, and by the way, he is very familiar with the molecule. We've done all kinds of crazy shit together, and he knows all of this stuff. But I told him what happened exactly, and he just looks at me and he goes, "Okay, you got to lay down." He literally said this. He's like, "Okay, you need to lay down." I was like, "No, no, 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 no. You don't understand. This was real. This was real, real, real." And he's like, "Okay." And then he was like, I could see that it doesn't get through to him what I'm saying because I'm just frantic and crazy and just called him. And I'm like, but you know me, like, I'm not like this. I'm telling you this happened. And he's like, dude, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I mean, it does all kinds of crazy things. I'm like, no, it's real. So
No, the best part of that story is that 45 minutes later, that's unheard of to have any type of experience like that 45 minutes after the fact.
That's what I'm saying. That was one of the weird parts about it, that it's all of a sudden just flashed. It's like it's pharmacologically impossible, basically. Like it's not, it shouldn't be possible. So that was another, but that was, I guess, the least weird part about the story. At least for me, it was. But yeah, this is why I have a lot of sympathy towards people who say, like, I try to explain and nobody cares. Like, yeah, I know. It's story of my life at this point. So I guess I got a little lucky to, I guess, deliver some of the vibe of why this feels so different in my first videos about this, which then put some attention on it. And luckily for me, there was something that was accompanying it, which was the laser discovery, which is because without that, like if I would just tell all the little, because I'm chronologically documenting every single thing that happens to me that is like of some significance. So, synchronicities, things like that. And I'm not talking about like I saw the number 111 on a digital clock. Like there's some crazy things happening to me sometimes. And I'm documenting all of it. But even with all of that, even if you put all of it together, which I assure you that goes way beyond any statistical probability of being like plausible, right? Still, in the end of the day, people would just go like, well, crazy things happen. But because it had this ultimate culmination in something that actually works for other people, that they can now go and see for themselves, now it changed the story. Which is why I'm trying to explain to people who've never done it why the laser is so unique, because it allows you to do something that you couldn't do before, which is show everybody the same thing. And I had this conversation with Adaptist, Rob, super nice guy. He has this channel on YouTube, right? But he kept on trying. He keeps going back to this thing where he's saying, it sounds like it's starting like a new religion or a new cult, the cult of the laser. And he's like, there's nothing special about the laser. I'm like, I don't understand how you're thinking about this. Like, I'm not saying there's anything special about the laser. I'm saying the laser is apparently a way to gauge into this real place. I'm not saying the laser is special. I'm saying that's a way to do this. So it's like a way to do it. And it keeps going back to it, which it really made me think, like, some people just see things in a very different way. They start from a different place. And that is another layer of complexity, that even the people that are experienced in the space, they have their own impressions that are riding on their own axioms and stories. And sometimes that's even harder to communicate with, because you have to first move them away from their presuppositions to a more neutral place, and then start talking from there, which is even more work. And again, he's like super, respectful, and like he's an honest interlocutor. He's not like, he wasn't like trying to be like in my face about it. And even though we're trying to talk about something in this like very open way, still the communication is very difficult about these things. So imagine how difficult it is with people who not only never done it, they also have this like knee-jerk reaction and like a negative connotation of these things. That's almost impossible to communicate to them. Yeah, laser is just a tool. Worship the laser. Hail the laser. Let's see, we have a bunch of comments here. Do you have a specific laser that works better? 650 nanometer works the best for sure. The green one I like, but the green one, because the wavelength is shorter, you have a higher frequency, so it's hard. It's hard a little bit on the eyes after a little while. Hey, Zina, too loud, baby.
So that experience you were saying with the frog character appearing, that was how much? You said it was like more than enough?
Oh, it was, no, I was, yeah, I was.
It's so wild how
I smoked, I think I smoked 3/4 of a bag. So we're talking about like almost a gram.
So it's so wild how our brain chemistry works like that, because I know what you're saying. I've had some people that went in with way more than they needed to break through, and they're like, I'm still not feeling nothing. After 10 minutes of trying to help them break through, all I do is like clear the glass. I just barely puff, and then I instantly break through. It's so wild how like different our minds work. Like you're saying, it might be, it's like it has a mind of its own whenever it wants to bring you in or not, or when it does eventually bring you in. Like you're saying, but I've never heard of 45 minutes after the fact that you're not partaking in it, and then it pulls you in like that. That's so wild to me.
And I do feel that the molecules space also have their own like kind of like gates. So if they don't want you to come in, you're not going to come in, no matter how much you smoke.
Exactly. Whereas any other substance, it's like, all right, you do this amount, you're going to feel this way with this intensity, but it's not like that with the molecule.
No, which is very strange. Oh, I see. Jin is saying, I think it was referring to what you was saying before, which is she feels a little lost. At a place of searching for real, but it all seems to end in a fuzzy nonsense ends. Any advice? Oh, yeah. Well, for a long time, that's where I was with the molecule for like a year. It was super realistic. Every time I would go back, it was almost like a phone call. Like I would just pick up from where we stopped, and they would teach me the next thing. Somebody says, I see your message, Ilyas Karmits. Hey, dude, I sent a message on Instagram. Can you check it out? DM, please. Okay, I will. I checked it today, so I saw all the new messages, but I'll definitely check this out. Here, I'll copy it right now so I don't forget. Hold on. Whoop. Okay. So I got you. Wait, what? There it is. Got you down. So that's where I was with them for like a year, where it was like super coherent, super realistic, and continuous. However, every time I would ask them to like give me something concrete, like, hey, can you show me how to build a spaceship or something I can prove to other people? Nothing, silence. And it just ends up with these like weird esoteric nonsense of like doesn't mean anything. It's like, look, when you go like this and we jump into your body, you go like this, the whole room folds in half. Cool. What can I do with this? There's nothing I can do with this. So my advice to you is, if you're going in to have some fun and explore, do that. But if you're doing it to get meaning for your life, don't do that. True meaning for your life will be in the same things you would imagine it to be, which is spending time with good friends, family members that you love, with your pet, have good hobbies, have a good relationship balance between your work and your life. Don't forget to actually reward yourself. All the stuff that you would hear from like, life coach advice, as chewed up and bottled up as those messages are, they're true. That's the thing that will give you meaning in life. And if you want to pick up a meditation practice, I would highly recommend it, because that can actually give you some superpowers. But don't go into the space to try and find the meaning of life. I don't think they're not very forthcoming when it comes to this kind of stuff. Yeah, see, this is the infinite goose chase, which is the how to open the next door. I happen to found this like next thing where you can actually try with the laser. So again, I don't know if you know what the experiment is, but essentially, if you project a diffracted laser on the surface, all the information is on the website codeofreality.com, and you have the protocol and everything. And if you do that while on the molecule or even on mushrooms, you will see code running in surfaces. That thing is pretty wild. I would say that is a pretty good next step. But even there, I'm telling you, it will not feel like it's giving you like deeper meaning to your life. This has to be done much more frequent on a day-to-day, and it has to be a thing that you're building. The people who saw Jesus walk on water were like, dude, it was real.
Yeah, you never have like a specific like piece of knowledge imparted to you, but you can tell that it's like some kind of universal truth like washing over you, but you can't ever like pinpoint it, I've noticed.
Yeah, I agree with that. Perhaps it unlocks brain and soul connections to allow messaging realities. Makes sense. Yeah, I guess you can think of the laser as through the looking glass. Yeah, laser is just a tool. Exactly. It's like an airplane. Tool flying and a flying colt. That's a really good. That's a really good thought. It's like an airplane is a tool not to fly, not a flying colt object. What's your theory of why a laser has that effect? Is there anything else? Anything else in what way? I think that it just, I'm not sure why it reveals it, but it reveals another layer of reality we couldn't see before. I think that the molecule allows you to see more frames per second of reality itself, and the laser basically gives you the resolution to see it with. After you see it with the laser, by the way, if you follow where the codes are outside of the laser, you'll notice that you can actually see it without the laser. It's just that it's so opaque that you couldn't notice it before. You didn't know that you could see it.
Yeah, because the laser is showing like concentrated light, so
And-
it makes sense that it would show you a more concentrated overlay of reality.
and coherent light, so of one frequency.
Yeah.
So I think that might be one of the hints, that if it's just combined light, then there's too much of the noise not being filtered. But you have to see each wavelength layer in order to see the specificity of that code. That actually, I never thought about that, but that may be, that might be actually one of the reasons. So thank you for the question. Perhaps it has to do with the brain chemistry at that time only. Well, that's it's almost like saying, the brain did it. Something happened in the brain. It doesn't really tell you anything. Could it be due to toxicity of the body? No. The molecule is completely natural to your body, like
I think
calcification of
those
the body.
comments were referring to back when we were talking about how the delayed reaction experience.
But the molecule is completely natural to your body. Maybe. No, it happens that it's you get like either a whiteout in which you just don't recall anything, and then it just seems like nothing happened, which I don't really have a way to know if it was that or something else. But the fact that it then started, that tells you. I did have a few times in which they basically communicated to me before I even smoked, like with a vape, and I smoked, and then they're like, keep going. So like they're holding the doors, they're holding it because they need you to have more juice in the system, because they where they want to take you requires a lot of fuel. So they're like waiting. They're like, okay, more, and you're like, oh, okay, and you keep going. They're like, more, and then you smoke enough. They go, okay, that's good, and then they bring the thing and something happens. So it could be also something like that, because I maintain that they're actually real and they're watching you do all of this, and the molecule essentially is like fuel to allow you to go to a certain distance in the mind space. And then there's a frequency associated with navigation. And they usually navigate you if they're paying attention to you, or you randomly going to land somewhere. I did feel them changing some energetic centers in my body very tangibly. Like I could feel how they de emphasize the tingling in one part of the body and emphasizing it in another part of the body. It's almost like they're moving energy around. So I will be of a certain shape. So I land in this particular place that requires this one signature of energetic imprint. So it's almost the energetic imprint is like the navigate. It's almost like the the code for where you're going, the address, and then how much of the molecule you have in your system is giving you fuel to go there. And that's the best way I can make sense of it.
Well, that almost links back to when they were showing you here, you lean this way and it's this certain shape. Maybe that's kind of what they were trying to impart to you. It's all about a certain shape of your energetic field that gets you to a certain place.
Yep, that sounds exactly right. And I feel like we obviously we can all do it. It's just there's truths to how they do it. It's a technology with the molecule. Also, Charlotte, yeah, Charlotte. Again, everybody, when you're dealing with the molecule, please, with utmost respect, please be careful. Do all the preps, and I always recommend, especially when you're doing the laser, start doing it during the day, because there's something about that experience that is different than just like doing it in the spiritual way, because you're just running a scientific experiment. So you're going to be there a little longer. You might sit there for like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, just keep doing it, kind of exploring. You don't want to be exhausted, because when you get exhausted, it does fry you a little bit when you do it for a while, right? If you're exhausted, it puts a lot of the guard down and a lot of the like, and then you can land in other places, and that's not the most comfortable places. So I always say that I've noticed that it's associated. Like if you're too tired, it's in general, it's not a good idea to travel. So I always recommend during the day. In any case, you don't need to do it in complete darkness. You can do it when it's actually better to see it when there's some ambient light in the room. It's easier, because when it's completely dark, then the contrast is too high, and it's actually sometimes it drowns some of the signal. You were about to say another experiment with the laser. What do you mean by that? Have you ever had a negative experience with the molecule? Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've seen some dark things, 100%. Yes, I get that in the natural to the body, but we added a lot of bad chemicals to our bodies. Oh, I see what you're saying. So, well, actually, that's much less likely, because I literally, when that happened, I literally that night came back from a Vipassana retreat. So, if anything, my system was very, very clean, both in physical terms and both in mental terms. Blockchain history of all the ripple effects on of the vibrational frequency code creating reality or reality frequency. And the shape of energy. I've had the molecule for a while, just been afraid to do by myself. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Something I haven't asked you. Is it NN or 5-MeO?
No, NN.
NN, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, I don't even know. Somebody asked me, I was like, I don't even know how you're gonna sit straight. Like that's
yeah, because the 5-MeO is the toad venom.
Yeah. It's that one is, well, I mean, it might still work, but it just feels like you won't be able to keep your head straight.
Out every time, I've heard.
Yeah. Someone who has been through it. Yeah. If you can find a sitter, that's always better. Absolutely, first mate. All right, guys. I truly love you. Appreciate you. I can actually keep going, but I feel like I do have to put a cap on this because I gotta go walk with the dogs. Really appreciate everybody. Thank you so much, and I'll see you tomorrow for the last one. For the next 10 days, tomorrow is gonna be the last one, and then 10 days is not gonna be one, and then I'll see you guys after that. So hopefully, I'll see everybody tomorrow. Peace. Thank you, brother.
Peace.
See you, everybody, on YouTube. Appreciate you. And I'm going to check out the Instagram thing. Absolutely. Peace, everybody.